Hello and welcome to Poetry in Style. So today we're going to talk about a writer I've already talked about in the past, and I want to talk about more today. Charles Bukowski. Why do I want to talk about Charles Bukowski? For the simple reason that I find it fascinating that society and a lot of people got really interested in his work, and I find it interesting to analyze the reason behind his popularity. And today I took 3 quotes that I put on a paper that I'm gonna read to you, and we're gonna analyze what it means to us in our current culture. So, if you watched my videos before, you already know what I think about Charles Bukowski. But I'm gonna make it short and still tell you a bit about him. Charles Bukowski was a good example of self-destruction. He was drinking his way to the tomb, was jumping from woman to woman, and was often seen drunk on stage or in television show. There was actually even, I'm gonna put the link in the description, a famous French television show, I think in the 70s or 60s, I don't fully remember, where he got really annoyed and drank 3 bottles of wine in a row and was completely shit-faced, and after that left the production. His book sales skyrocketed in Europe. All those things made him very successful. But I want to analyze why people took somebody who committed such act as an example, And for me, in order to understand what made Charles Bukowski so successful, we have to understand our society, and we have to understand how most people, in my observation at least, suffer and are not very happy in our current culture, So let's read the quotes of Charles Bukowski and let's analyze what it means. Charles Bukowski often talks about the 9 to 5. Like a job from 9 to 5, just working every day, 5 days a week, having a weekend, going back to work 5 days a week, having a weekend, 5 days a week, having a weekend, and so on and so on and so on. The first quote is, "How in the hell could a man enjoy being awakened at 8:30 a.m. by an alarm clock, leap out of bed, dress, full speed, shit, piss, brush, teeth and hair," that's the other way around, fight traffic to get to a place where essentially you made lots of money for somebody else and were asked to be grateful for the opportunity to do so. First quote. Second quote. They call it 9 to 5. It's never 9 to 5. There's no free lunch break at those places. In fact, at many of them, in order to keep your job, you don't take lunch. Then there's overtime, and the books never seem to get the overtime right, and if you complain about that, there's another sucker to take your place. That was actually in a letter that he wrote to somebody who encouraged people to leave their job, and he did that, and he wanted to thank him for that, So it's a whole story behind that. And the last quote is, "The 9 to 5 is one of the greatest atrocities sprung upon mankind. You give your life away to a function that doesn't interest you." Yes, the 9 to 5, the plight of the 9 to 5, and how it destroys the soul of our citizens. Yes. Let's digest that a little bit. Let's have a sip of coffee. The 9 to 5. The plight of the 9 to 5. Yeah, it might seem good. We have a job. At least I have a job. I'm going, I'm working, I'm participating to society. Maybe I'm having kids, maybe they're having kids themselves, Everything's going all right. Society keeps on turning. But if you have a deeper look at society nowadays, it's interesting. It's interesting to see that we are more and more connected. Yeah, we are more and more isolated. We have more and more opportunities of jobs, yet we are more and more dismotivated or we are less motivated, My series is just, this is just my viewpoint. You know, as it says, you know, leap out of bed, dress, force feed, shit, piss, brush teeth and hair, and fight traffic to get to a place where essentially you made lots of money for somebody else. You know, here is the problem. I do believe that in our society, a lot of people work without knowing why they work. A lot of people go to school, it starts there, without knowing why they go to school. You know, they don't know why they are learning different things, you know. And if they are not learning well those things, they are being told that they are losers, you know, that they are worthless. And they live their whole life with this feeling of worthlessness. They live their whole life with this feeling of being demotivated. You know, that's the word I was looking for. No motivation. And often I enjoy comparing our current society to the old society. Imagine living in a small tribe. There's a, you know, a chief of the tribe. There's a fisherman, there's a blacksmith, there's a farmer, you know, there's there are a lot of different people making clothes, you know, there are warriors, and they all know why they wake up. They all know why they're doing what they're doing, you know. A fisherman in those kind of tribes, to make it very simple, knows that if he is not going to fish, the tribe will run out of fish and might run out of food. A farmer might feel the same, you know. And the warriors feel that if they're not defending the tribe might be in danger. So everybody has a specific role, and they know why they hold those roles in the society. But in our current society, where we are more and more connected, but more and more isolated, where we have more and more opportunities, but at the same time we are more and more confused. Let's be honest, people don't know why they wake up. You know? You're going to bed, then you wake up out of bed to go, I don't know, be a postman. I don't know, like, because that's what he did. Or you're going to work in a shop. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you sell. You don't get much, you know. Your salary stays the same. You can sell, you know, like you work in a fast food. You can sell 1 burger or 300 burgers. At the end of the day, your salary is still the same. And what difference does it make how many burgers you sell? Do you understand why you're doing that? Do you understand how you're making a difference in this society? You know? So this is one of the reasons. You know, I believe that people lost their purpose. And you can see that you can see that it's even more visible. I mean, I grew up in the countryside, in a small village. In small villages, I think people have more ideas what they're doing. But when you go to big cities, like, you know, let's go to Paris, let's go to London, let's go to New York. How many people are taking the subway, the underground, the metro, whatever you call it, going to their job, you know, with this face to the floor, not knowing why they're doing what they're doing. And again, not feeling worthwhile, they're feeling worthless. And I do believe that Bukowski made us feel that we are not alone. You know, he gave a voice to the people. You know, there's somebody who was actually looked at as being worthless and who really went all the way. This actually, this poem, Go All The Way, went all the way in being worthless. That's maybe one of the reasons why he just kept on drinking and kept on destroying himself, you know. Because he just wanted to show you, yeah, you know, that's the way I am, and fuck it, that's how it is. You know? And a lot of people found a voice in the text of Charles Bukowski. But it is something I have to say. I do agree with that. I do agree with those texts. I do agree with what Charles Bukowski says about the 9 to 5. And I do find a lot of his poems very interesting. However, and for that I need a sip of coffee. However, I do believe that there are different solutions, and I do believe that we can reconnect to what makes us human, to what makes us worthwhile, and we can find a motivation back without following the steps of Charles Bukowski. And those are the reasons why I find it really interesting to talk about Charles Bukowski. Do I think that Charles Bukowski has a lot of interesting things to say? Yeah, a lot. Do I think that a lot of his poems are really interesting? Yes, a lot of his poems are very interesting. However, I don't think Charles Bukowski should be held as an example. And that's what I'm thinking. And that's the reason why I wanted to analyze why Charles Bukowski became so famous and popular in our society. And yes, that's it. I hope you enjoy it, and I want to know what you think. What do you think about that? Don't you think that we are more and more isolated? Don't you think that we are more and more like lost despite all these opportunities? Or maybe you think I'm full of shit. I don't know, what do you think? Or maybe something in between. Or what's your viewpoint, you know? But please, even though I use weird words, please say it with respect. I might not sound respectful when I say I might be full of shit, it's just the way I'm talking. But if we can have a discussion, I'm very interested. Do you like Charles Bukowski? Do you dislike Charles Bukowski? Let me know. And do you like coffee? That's also the most important. What do you think about coffee, you know?